All right, everybody. Dynasty Mir, search for Huru. We are back again live. The West with us today, and first of all, let me give a special shout out to somebody. I just got back from logo. Amazing. Hopefully, you guys you've been seeing the videos I've been posting. Real quick, let me I want to give somebody a shout out. Where's his brother at? Where's his brother at? Where's his brother at? Please forgive me, but the brother JC literally just booked my ticket. All right, you guys. So people who are wanting to fly or go to Africa, bring budget. Okay. Hopefully, but I just bought a ticket round trip from New York to Abidjan, Ivory Coast. It's in the September. Ethiopian Airlines for $318. So JC Outler, I appreciate the info. I'm going to repost this link. In fact, I'm gonna post it in the chat room right now. Hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead and post it in the chat room. The echo, is that on my end or?
Well, I can hear you okay. The sound isn't clean, but I can hear you.
I was saying, is that on my end, the echo or? Okay, so let me go ahead and 1 second. Let me do this real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and post this in the chat room, everybody. But again, if you're talking about going to the motherland, but here goes the link for JC Outler. Thank you so much for the information. You guys go ahead and buy that ticket. There's no need, no excuses. $318. I know a lot of people, they say because they're on a shoestring budget, you got a $318 round trip ticket. Hopefully it goes through. So I just want to get that out the way. Peace to everybody in the chat room. Thank you for joining. Chima, the trip was great. Hope you're enjoying the videos. So today or tonight, we're going to chop it up about, is it over for Black people in California? Now, Thea, you posted a video. California is the most impoverished state. Now, let's speak on that from a Black perspective. I brought it up time and time again. You have an area in LA. Skid Row is home to the highest. Brother, when you say it's lagging, what do you mean? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
press 1 in the chat room if you can hear me clearly. But LA, Skid Row in Los Angeles, California is population in America. Okay, 85% of the it has Skid Row. We talk about historically Black communities, South Central, Compton, Leimert Park. You know, where I'm from in Sacramento, historically Black communities like Oak Park. I'm sorry, in LA is Leimert area. Hello. Are we good, people? Press 1 in the chat room if you can hear me. One, okay, perfect. 1, okay. So it's lagging. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Can you guys hear me now? Press 1. Brother West, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you know the voice, the sound is in and out, but I can hear you.
Okay, I might just get rid of this mic. I don't know if it's the mic or what it is. Okay, I think the background noise might be my my space heater. Let me go ahead and set this over here. Reason why I say it's my space heater, it's I have a very old house in Atlanta. late 1800s, and this house gets drafty as hell. I don't know if you guys know, but it's very here in Atlanta. So okay, so are we good, people? Press 1 if you can hear me clearly before I continue. Everybody in the chat room. Press 1 if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. All right, so yeah, then you have predominantly black. For the most part, black people are extinct in California. And my video looks foggy. Hold on 1 second. Guys, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Let me switch to this real quick. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Tia, can you hear me fine, or
Yes, I hear
is
you
everything
fine.
cool? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so then you have areas like San Francisco, okay, where pretty much black people are extinct in San Francisco. Then you have Oakland, where people are being gentrified out of Oakland, out of the Bay Area. So the question becomes, if California is the most impoverished state in America, from a black perspective, how does that affect black people? What does that mean for black people? So me and brother T West are going to build and go in on that today. So T West, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the article that the article that you posted in regards to California being the most impoverished state in America.
Okay. Yes, Brother Amir, that little short video, that was based upon, actually it was One America news station that reported it. And the ranking of California being the most impoverished state in the United States was based upon the supplemental poverty measure, which many people believe that is a more accurate measurement of poverty within various states. So California ranked the worst. And that method of measurement, among other things, it includes the price of property, the price of homes, rent, rent rates, things like that. And also you look at taxes, things that affect the daily lives of people financially. When you look at the picture, California ranked the highest as far as poverty in the United States. And you alluded to some of that when you started talking about Skid Row and other areas of California, southern and even parts of Northern California, where you have thousands of people who are living in the streets. They're impoverished, the homeless groups of people living in the streets of various cities across California. Now, one of the reasons why California is in that type of situation is because you have a huge influx of illegal immigrants, very often called undocumented immigrants, but illegal immigrants who are living and working, some of them working, some of them are taking benefits from the social welfare programs there, but living and working in that state. So with, for example, with welfare, in that video that you're referencing, they mention that the citizens of California those who are impoverished or who require some level of social assistance, welfare, is around about 30%. But among those who are in the state illegally, illegal immigrants, that immigrant population, more than 50% of them are in need of and are also using social welfare benefits in the state of California to the tune of billions of dollars. So that has an effect on California's rating. In addition to that, as well, you have high taxation in California, which has forced many people to move out of that state. Some of them move to other states, states such as Texas and elsewhere. They move out. And that has ranked California #2 behind New York for states that have people moving out of that state. So California is ranked #2 for people exiting California. So those are just some scenarios or a situation with California. And you also, I'm sure you're aware of that California has declared itself a sanctuary state. It's the first state in the country to declare itself a sanctuary state. At the same time, also, the federal government is also indicating that they are preparing to carry out a major immigration enforcement and arrests in and across the state of California, especially up in the northern area of California, Oakland, San Francisco, up there in that area. And you have one mayor, the mayor of Oakland, who said that she's prepared to go to jail to defend the people who are living in Oakland under the sanctuary city rules. The sanctuary city rules, which the federal government under the Trump administration, it has found that those rules get in the way of the federal government enforcing federal laws relating to illegal immigration. So that's a little bit on why California is ranked #1 in poverty under the supplemental poverty measure.
Okay. So, T. West, our beloved Black politicians, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, they want to bring up and push the agenda of sanctuary cities, DACA, LGBTQ rights, but they're not pushing a Black agenda because, again, Black people in California are struggling. Why do you think this is?
Well, the first and most important reason is that Blacks in California do not have the numbers. Their population is far, far behind the Hispanic population in that state. Now, for example, University of California, or that university system across that state there, 53% of the people who are enrolled in that university, those universities now, are Hispanic. A decade ago, it was like maybe around about, 15 years ago, let's say, it was around about 15%. So you have a situation in California where Blacks don't have the numbers. That means that people like Maxine Waters, Barbara Lee, and others, they're going to court or go out and try to get the votes of the group that has the larger population. They're going to try to satisfy politically the needs of the Hispanic community because they have the numbers in California. So that's the first and most important reason why. If they want to be in office, remain in office as elected officials, then they know that they must appease that majority ethnic group, majority minority group which is still growing thanks in large part to illegal immigration in the state of California. So that's the main reason why. And then secondly, you don't have enough blacks, the few in relationship to the total population of California, the few who are there, you don't have enough of them who are actually who actually have knowledge of this subject matter and who are courageous enough to speak out in their own interests relative to this. Now I just lost you. I don't hear you right now.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening. Go ahead.
Okay, so because you have that situation where you don't have enough blacks in California who are equipped with this information and with the knowledge and with the courage to go out there and speak publicly against their elected officials on behalf of their interests.
Okay, I don't think there's some people in the chat room. Yeah, there's a bad echo. Am I echoing, Mr.
No,
West?
no.
Okay. Okay, there's some people in the chat room I think don't understand the context of our live stream. So Vlog85, he just posted, I did a quick fact check. Cali has the 6th largest GDP in the world at 2.4 trillion. Can you break down to him what we mean by California is I guess poorest state in the country?
Yeah. Well, see, the GDP, that's the gross domestic product. That's how much, that's a measurement of the economy in California. But when let me explain it this way. It's like if you have a salary, if you're bringing home $50,000 a year,
right?
Expenses is $55,000 a year.
Right.
That you're in the hole financially.
Correct.
So regardless of how much money California is bringing in, is GDP, similar to, just like the United States. The United States has a huge gross domestic product. That's big.
Correct. But we're in debt by trillions of dollars. But
yes,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
But they're in debt. That's correct. So California being on the Pacific and having a very long coastline, lots of goods are shipped in from Asia. They come into the ports in various California cities, in San Francisco area, Oakland area, in the Los Angeles area, San Diego. So these goods come in to California. Now, the goods that are coming into California versus the goods that are going out of California. So we're talking about trade right there. When we start talking about gross domestic product and all, then you could get all up into trade. The United States with trade, let's say with Mexico. The United States is over $70 billion in the red with Mexico, meaning that Mexico sells far more to the United States than the United States sell to Mexico. Now, someone might want to say, and could say, that, well, there are American companies down in Mexico that are making trucks and other products there, and then they just ship those products back across the border and sell them in the United States. For example, Chrysler. Chrysler has a truck division over there that manufactures trucks. And then some of the trucks are shipped back to the United States, sold in the United States. But by the way, Chrysler is now returning back to Michigan. They're leaving Mexico. So, and much of this came about under NAFTA, under Bill Clinton. And NAFTA was supposed to have stopped much of the illegal immigration across the border from Mexico into the United States, but it did not. So the United States actually got and received a double whammy, because under NAFTA, you had a lots of American companies relocating to Mexico to manufacture goods over there and then sell it here in the United States or sell it around the world. You had that. So those jobs were lost here in the United States because those factories moved, just like Chrysler did with the truck division. And then on top of that, you had a continuous influx of illegal immigrants still flowing across the border from Mexico into the United States, coming into California, coming into places like Arizona, Texas. And that's why today you see the largest ethnic group in California is now Hispanic, especially if you look at the younger ages. It's Hispanic. And that's also why you see in California State University, you see now that 53% of the enrollees are Hispanic. And over 30% of the enrollees in the universities in California are Asians. And then only around about 4.7%, less than 5% are African Americans. So,
and not to cut you off, I guarantee you, and out of that 4.7%, 4.69% probably are athletes.
I don't know what the breakdown is with that. I'm sure a good number are athletes. Most of them would not be athletes though, because you don't have that many athletes. Period.
Well, there was a story a couple years ago out of UCLA where I think the majority of the black population at UCLA were on the football. You gotta look that up because these students they did a video on that. Some of the regular black students that weren't athletes, they did a video on that. But you gotta look that up. It was like a couple years ago. Look it up real quick, and I'll post it in the chat room. Like literally the majority of the black population at UCLA, this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, was the football team. You gotta look that up. But go ahead.
And that could definitely be the case for a particular university like UCLA. But if you balance that out with all of the universities across California, I'm sure that would not be the case. So UCLA could very well have been an exception. But overall, I seriously doubt that would be the case. So the situation in California, as I said, the solution for blacks, if you were to ask me what's the solution for blacks in California, it's like, hey, look, I've articulated it before. I believe you said that you once lived in the Bay Area of California, correct?
Well, I'm originally from Sacramento, which is an hour and a half from the Bay.
Yes.
Then I went to University of Georgia. Then I came back to California, but came to LA. And what I told, pretty much from what I experienced, number one, home ownership is the key. But that window of affordable housing where you could buy a home in LA was from like 2011 to 2013. That's when prices were affordable. After that, man, prices just, like here in Atlanta, the same thing's going on in the city, but I bought when everything was cheap here in Atlanta. Prices are just going out of the roof. I mean, I'm talking about the condo I rented in downtown LA back in 2012. I think the value of it now, somebody bought it foreclosed. I don't know why I didn't buy it. I wasn't thinking, for like $185,000. I looked up the value of it. I think the person sold it. They just sold it for right at like $450,000 for that condo. This condo was a 600 square foot studio apartment. It's crazy the way values are going in LA. So yeah, I used to live in LA.
So and the reason why I brought that up, because I know you had told me that you once you were from that area, Sacramento, Northern California. The reason why I brought that up is because you moved on. You're not there any longer. You don't reside.
No, I got the hell out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So solutions. When you start talking about solutions for Black people in California, the first thing that you got to look at, and you got to ask the question, do you have the numbers in California? And the answer is no. And then the next question is, will you ever have the numbers in California? And how long would it take for you to have the numbers in California? And the answer to that would be never. You will never have the numbers in California. It's not going to happen. So the solution is that you have to look at, okay, maybe it's time to do what your parents or your grandparents did long ago, 50 years ago, and even a little more for some. Blacks who were in the South, especially certain parts of the South, they did not have many opportunities. So their parents or grandparents, when they had the opportunity to move, they moved. They moved on west. They moved up to the Northeast, where they felt and believed that they had better opportunity to work in the factories in Detroit, to work, or Chicago, or in Los Angeles. They moved looking for a better opportunity. Now, because of the situation that's happening in California and this whole sanctuary city and sanctuary state situation, where the predominant, the majority ethnic group are being allotted more favors than your group, you have to look at other opportunities elsewhere. Now, to this day, right now, in the southern states of the United States, also called the southwestern region, southeastern region, actually, of the United States, nearly 40% of blacks still reside in those areas. And it is those areas where blacks own the most property in the United States. Not places like California, not where Oprah has her home at in Montecito, California. Not there. That's not where blacks have the most property at. The most property is actually in the southeastern region of the United States, the South. So you have to look at those situations. Some of you, you're living in homes in California, you have homes, and the valuation of that home, if you were to sell it, let's say it's a $500,000 or it's $1 million. And you have buyers out there who's willing to put that money down to own your home. To you, I say sell it. Sell it and move, because your money will take you much further back down in the southeastern region of the United States. And the southeastern region would extend all the way into Houston, all the way even to Maryland, Baltimore, Atlanta, all of that. That's the southeastern region of the United States. So that is a solution, because otherwise, I would just have to listen to you all as you gripe and fuss and whine about gentrification and how it's hurting and harming blacks in America. There is an answer.
Let me ask, did you hear the news about, I guess there's a portion of California trying to secede from California?
Yes, there is. In fact, is most of what is now California is attempting to secede from California and establish their own state. If what they're proposing would ever happen, and there is a good chance that it will.
You really think so?
Oh, there's a very good chance that it will. Yeah, because you got it's most of the state, it's the majority of the state who's looking to do that. And they're looking to do it because of what Democrats are doing in California. It would leave the area, much of the coastal region would remain as a part of what is California. But most of the other parts of California.
Okay, I thought the coastal region was going to be the new California, or is it?
No.
Or no?
The only
Okay, go ahead.
That they're looking at for remaining a part of California, that would be like the San Francisco, Oakland area, on down through Los Angeles. Those areas, some of those coastal areas. But if you go any further north of San Francisco up towards Oregon, all of that, they are looking to secede, strip all that off, and establish a new state, their own state. That's what some groups are looking to do with that.
But so you're saying that this could be a possible reality. I just, you know, to me, it's like when people say Texas will succeed and become its own country. Like I just don't see it happening. But how can something like this happen? Could it possibly be reality?
Yeah, well, it's happened before, where you had some states slash territories that have split up and been split out to establish a state, a separate state, a new state. So California and Texas, you know, those are both states encompass a very large area. And none of the other states have such a large geographical area like Texas and like California. Now, of course, there's no big move in Texas for Texas to secede and split stuff off into separate states. But there is a big move in California for that to happen. Now, also, in addition, and I'm not going to deal with this that much, but I'll mention it. Yes, you do have some people who say, and they want California to split off from the United States altogether, the entire state of California. You do have some people like that, but that's not going to happen. That would be war, you know, guns and all, if that attempt was made.
So Turd Battle brought up something in the chat room, and I wanna touch on that. He brought up the situation with Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So the famous Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles is black owned. All right. It was started by a guy named, I think his first or last name was Herb. I actually met him before a couple times. So what happened, Brother West, there was a discrimination lawsuit maybe 3 or 4 years ago where a black guy sued Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles because I guess the person over HR hiring was Hispanic and was hiring Hispanics and discriminating against black people. And this is a so-called black-owned restaurant. Or I think he has roughly. I think he opened up a location in Vegas. He's in Orange County. He has a location off of Pico, in Inglewood, in Hollywood, off of Sunset. He has like maybe 6, 7 locations, and he's famous. But you have a black-owned business that is not even that. Pretty much the day-to-day operations are ran by non-blacks to the point where they're discriminating against black people. What's your take on that?
Well, it's simple. Roscoe eventually will sell out. He will sell.
You think so?
Yeah, he will sell.
It's funny because I asked him that question back in 2009. He said never, but go ahead.
Yeah, he will sell. He will be forced to sell. And the reason why I say that is because you have a declining black population in California. And not only black people eat at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, you know, lots of different ethnic groups eat there. But his base is black folks. That's his base. Now,
right.
With the influx of more and more Hispanics and Asians into the region, eventually his workers, more and more of his workers will make up Hispanics and or Asians.
Well, it's not eventually. It's already his workers are predominantly Hispanic already.
Yeah. So those things are already happening. Eventually, he will sell. Even if he didn't sell, he's probably got children. His children, they will sell. It will be sold. You know, just like the Root. You know, the Root magazine. That's his
right. NBC owns. Well, yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Univision owns it. Right.
Yeah, that's Hispanic owned. Okay. All right. So those things. That's just the reality. You don't have the numbers there. And inevitably, that is what happens to those types of services.
Yeah, that's crazy. But and you're right, because I want to say he went bankrupt. So let me see. Let me look this up real quick. Roscoe's bankruptcy.
Yeah, the last time I ate at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, that's been about probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I ate there. Herb Huston. Oh shit. Okay, so check this out. So the owner, Herb Hudson, he was ousted as president of Roscoe Chicken and Waffles. So I don't know what that does to him, how that affects him as far as being the owner, but he was ousted as president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So that means that he doesn't have all that clout. I don't know if it's a private company organization or not.
Well,
It
it
is
says
private.
Roscoe. Well, it says parent company of Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles files for bankruptcy. So I know after they lost the lawsuit, the discrimination lawsuit, they filed for bankruptcy. But I'm trying to figure out what this parent company is. East Coast Foods Inc. That's the parent company. So I guess we got to find out who owns the parent company.
Yeah, well, the parent company, most in all likelihood, is not black owned. So he's probably already sold, and he was on the board. It sounds like he was on the board
As a president, right? And he got ousted.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's how it happens. That's one way it happens. So he could be the founder and all, but then he can be pushed out. So
Wow, that's crazy. So I just learned something new today.
Well, yeah. You have a decreasing number of people of your base in those areas. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Not at all.
Well, so for people who are still trying to hold on and I'm gonna stick it out in California, black people. I'm gonna stick it out in California. I don't own anything. I don't own a home, which I think is the foundation. When I was in LA, I would often see black people celebrating having a cannabis card more than owning a home. Black people are sitting here celebrating weed being legalized in California. What kind of advice or sound right reason can you give these people?
Well, it's very, very important to have a good education. It's very important to have, you can have that with a combination of good skills also. That's very, very important, because if you have those things, that can take you anywhere in the country, not only anywhere in the country, but anywhere in the world. That is the first thing that I would say. You get that, then you can go anywhere. You can, with skills, you can start your own business. So that's first and foremost. So, and if you don't have that and you're living in California, then you're operating behind the 8 ball anyway. In other words, you already have a lots of ticks against you. Okay, so and if you're there, then you got to pick yourself up. You've got to get some skills and or further education. Then you could have the ability to remain there and be successful, or even move away from there and be successful. So that would be my words to young brothers, young sisters, and not so young brothers and young sisters to do. I mean, right now, you've got, in the United States right now, you've got jobs that are beginning to come back into the United States. Jobs left this country in the 1980s. They're coming back, some of them. And you also, what you're going to see over the next few years, you're going to see a huge investment made into American infrastructure, where the United States, across this country, they're going to be improving the infrastructure, the rail, the road systems. They're going to be improving all of that. You need to have skills for that. And in certain areas, if you want to manage and all, you need to have an education for all that. So I encourage Blacks right now to get in the books, to get out there as apprentices, try to be an apprentice on the job, OJT, learning on the job training, learn how to do those things, because that will pay you well. Those sorts of jobs will pay you well. And they're looking for people right now in the construction industry. And the construction industry is very broad. So get out there and do those things. Very often, most people will tell you, get a college degree, get a college degree. Well, yes, you can do that, and that's fine. But a college degree is not for everyone. Some of you can get into 2-year apprenticeship program, 2-year certificate programs, and then earn seven-figure salaries, six-figure, seven-figure salaries. You can do that. And you could also, with some of these things, you could even start your own business. So that's what I encourage. And also with some of these apprenticeship programs, you're going to be out, you're going to save a hell of a lot of money. You know, when you go into universities, they're going to milk you for lots of money. Okay, they will milk you for a lot of money, but you need to get these skills. The skill area is a big, big area. And the Trump administration is going to be putting more and more money into those areas for training. He's been talking about it. And he was even talking about it today, apprenticeship programs. You know, several years ago, I talked about it. And even when he was running for president, I indicated that China is at the leadership now in producing goods and selling it around the world. And that is because most of China's political leaders are engineers. They're engineers. Most of America's politicians, traditionally, they have been lawyers. So a nation that wants to succeed, they need to have people with minds of builders. And that's also Trump came from, the area as a builder. So he'll do much better in leading this country with regards to economics and economically making the country more prosperous than a Barack Obama, than a George W. Bush. He'll do much better because he has a background and he thinks in that way. These are things that I stated 2 years ago when Trump said he was going to run for president, and I knew that he would win because the American people are looking for someone who thinks like that, who can bring back the second most important thing that brought America great wealth. The first most important thing that brought America great wealth was our ancestors. They were the ones who did nothing and built the great wealth of this country from in the agricultural industry. And then that wealth was transferred into the Industrial Revolution. And then that was transferred from the Industrial Revolution into the computer technology revolution. So it all started with our people. That was the seed wealth that established the great wealth of the United States of America.
Let me give a special shout out to Chima Madhu, who's always in the chat donating on the super chat, and also Freelance Ronan. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you, brother. Real quick, somebody in the chat room wants to know. And this is my let me say this is how I feel about this. Skid Row in LA was by far the worst living conditions I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to 11 or 12 African countries. I have been to the slums in these African countries. Skid Row by far was the worst I've ever seen. So sometimes people get offended when I say that a lot of black people are living in conditions that are worse than third world countries. What are your thoughts on that? On the statement I just made?
Well, that's true. That is true. You have blacks in this country who are living in very abject poverty in cities in the north. You would expect that, you would think, in the south, but you see less of that in the south these days than you do in the north. You see it in rich cities, wealthy cities like Seattle, and like you mentioned, Los Angeles. You see it there. Uh, and the reason, there are various reasons for that. So I don't think I need to articulate as to why that has happened and has been happening. But you are right.
Look, let me ask you, Steve, can you give us a shortened version, or take your time, give us a shortened version of how we have a situation like Skid Row? Because like I tell people all the time, Skid Row is by far the worst I've ever seen, and I've been to what would be considered the slums in what would be considered third world countries. Like, how does it get to that level here in America in a place like LA? And then our politicians like Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, why do they refuse to bring up or talk about Skid Row? And then also too, you have Tent City in the Bay Area as well.
Yeah, yeah. You have 10 cities, you have 10 cities in Seattle, Washington, the Bay Area, also San Francisco area. See, here in the United States, you've had, anytime you destroy or adversely affect the family structure, where the men are in large numbers, if you're talking about black folks, are incarcerated or dead, and the women are left to fend and raise those children herself. Anytime you have a situation like that, that's going to show up somewhere. And sometimes it shows up on Skid Row. You see it out there. You see, and sometimes people try to escape their troubles. They try to escape their pain through drugs, through sex.
Right.
And then they get in trouble with that. They become addicted with sex. They can become infected with deadly diseases. So where do they go? They go into the streets. They're pushed into the streets. They cannot pay their rent because they're using their money to buy drugs. So there are various reasons as to why Skid Row exists. Now, there's always been a Skid Row, but not at this level.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
In the United States, and have been seeing for a few years, several years in the United States. So you have a situation that's developing like that because the very essence of family is being challenged. And President Barack Obama recently stated that his wife Michelle told him that, and I'll paraphrase, that it's more important to be able to affect the culture, change the culture. In other words, change the way that people are thinking than legislation. It's legislation and all that helps appropriate money properly to address such situations as you see on Skid Row. Now, I'm not saying that money is going to solve everything that you see on Skid Row, because you can have all the money in the world and you're still going to have a Skid Row somewhere. I mean, that's going to exist somewhere. But the question is about the veracity of it. How big is it? It doesn't have to be this big. So, but changing culture, President Obama making people aware. President Barack Obama. Well, changing culture. Well, what was that all about? It was about, well, look, Johnny, who's 5 years old, he should be able to decide what his gender is. He should be able to decide which restroom he wants to go into at the elementary school. So when you start looking at things like that, you start talking about things like that, what you're doing is you're driving a wedge in between the family, because Johnny don't want to listen to his parents anymore. His parents put down on the birth certificate, Johnny is a male, gender male, not gender female. So, but then you have bureaucrats who come along and say, well, Johnny, you can be whatever and whoever you want to be. If you want to be Susie, you can be Susie, Johnny. So that brings division at the nuclear level, at the family level. And that then spreads out into community. Some of them end up on Skid Row, lost, confused, rejected. So yes, I mean, of course, I could go on and on and on about that, but I think I think your listeners, I hope they get the picture of what creates Skid Rows. And you, of course, you also have people who have mental conditions.
Correct.
Long ago, when Reagan was president, Reagan released a lot of them from the mental institutions. They went into the street.
So the majority, I would say 80%, 85% of live on Skid Row are schizophrenic, schizophrenic, and also they have drug habits. So there you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you have that, and you have frankly, those are the ones you see because they're on Skid Row. But you also have lots of them who lives in nice neighborhoods. They live in homes, but they have the same issues: schizophrenia, paranoia, and those sorts of elements. Drug addiction. You have that. I mean, that's why you've been hearing the U.S. Congress talking for at least the last 2 years, actually more than that, about what they're going to do about the heroin addiction, about the opiate addiction that's affecting primarily and mostly, but not solely, affecting pale-skinned Americans. I mean, we're talking about entire generations. We're talking about the children. They're hooked on this stuff. The parents, they're hooked on this stuff. The grandparents, they're hooked on this stuff. That's what's happening in more and more among pale-skinned Americans in this country. Now, we could say, and we know so well about the crack cocaine epidemic that's hit African Americans in the 1980s, 1990s. We know about that. And then we know how the institution, the U.S. government, treated that, the 3 strikes and you're out, and locking up hundreds of thousands of blacks into prisons. That was very devastating upon black communities across this country. And of course, we know that much of that was by design. Just like decades ago, they used a similar technique in funneling heroin into Harlem. When Harlem was up and coming, you had the Black Renaissance. They funneled that into Harlem. Even they used Vietnam as a place for getting the drugs and then shipping drugs back, even in the dead bodies of soldiers, American soldiers who would come into Dover Air Force Base in coffins. They would bring the drugs back in that way, and then they would funnel those drugs into inner cities, such as Harlem, Detroit, destroying the Black Renaissance. So, but it's so good that whatever weapon they bring and have brought against us, those same weapons come back upon them. So hello, heroin epidemic. Hello, methane epidemic. Hello, opiate epidemic in and among pale skin. So that's the situation that's happening here in the United States with that. And those situations create what we see and we call Skid Row. So you not only see blacks out there on Skid Row, you see more pale skinned Americans out there on Skid Row than you do black people.
I gotta disagree with you on that one. I did mission work on Skid Row for 6 years. It was majority black, no confusion.
In Los Angeles, you're talking about, right?
Say that one
Los Angeles. In Los Angeles?
Skid Row, LA, right outside of downtown, in between downtown and Little Tokyo. It was where Skid Row was. I was on Skid Row every Sunday for 6 years, handing out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, water and fruit. I have a nonprofit organization, and the outreach program I used to lead was called Project Peanut Butter and Jelly. Trust me, Skid Row was majority black, and it's funny because before I started the outreach program, there was a small documentary I watched on Skid Row, and the people said done by white people. They said it was 80% black, and the majority of the people are schizophrenic and have drug issues. 85% of that 80%. Mm-hmm. I was like, no way. I started doing my mission work. I would say it's probably 90% black, and probably 90% are schizophrenic and have some type of drug related issues. I watched people shoot up, smoke crack. It was out of control. And the thing about it is the police, they allowed it. Like they wouldn't enforce anything. It's like, as long as you stay in your box, you can do whatever you want. So yeah.
Right. The police cannot handle it. They can't solve it, and they know that. Now, so Los Angeles would be an exception because you had the dynamics of millions of illegal immigrants coming in, displacing those blacks in that area. Now, if you go to other cities, if you go to Seattle, for example, you're going to see that's predominantly white out there on the streets like that. And if you go to most cities, you would see that. Now, Los Angeles would be an exception, as I said, because you have other factors, multiple factors that have those people out there on Skid Row. And you've had a huge disruption in California with the huge influx of illegal immigrants into the area, displacing other groups in the job market area. So that would be the reason, one of the reasons for the situation or that scenario in the Los Angeles area, where you have predominantly majority of blacks who are out there on Skid Row.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, Black Youngster, real quick. Black Youngster, did they tear down Imperial Courts? Because that's a housing project in Watts where I used to do a lot of outreach work at. Imperial Courts. I think across the street from Imperial Courts was Nickerson Gardens, I believe. Let me know if they tore down those two housing projects in Watts. And then Chima Madu had a question for you. He wanted to know, let me scroll up to it. Do you think more black people should get into the IT field, which is prevalent in Silicon Valley? What are your thoughts on that? I think you just touched on that, though.
You said, what was the question? What about IT field?
Do you think more black people should get into the IT field?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, that's the area that I worked in all my life. Really was IT. And that's a broad area. You could be in the hardware area, you could be in the software area. That would be a good area, especially if you have a knack for it. Not all people have a knack for that. What I encourage people to do is to find out yourself. Discover yourself. Find out what you are strong at doing. And at the same time, it would be nice if you like doing it also. Discover yourself and then pursue that. Pursue that with all your strength and all your might, with vigor. Pursue that. And it pays good.
Okay, let's see. Last thing, T West, what are your thoughts on legal marijuana in California? Because this is the issue I have with it, especially when it comes to black people.
Oh, my. Well,
so let me make my statement first, and you could take the floor. So you have these dispensaries, legal marijuana dispensaries in California that are now black owned. But I would notice black people looking like zombies every day in front of them. But we call this a come up that weed is now legal. And I promise you, they celebrate weed or having your cannabis card more than owning real estate. I mean, so what are your thoughts on legal marijuana in regards to the black community?
Well, let me start by saying this. People will do almost anything for money. Okay. Right. All right. Secondly, it's insane. Now, I know I just sent some of your listeners into a whole head span, a little tizzy when I said that, but it's insane. Let me tell you something. Right. Several years ago, you all heard in the media about some of these people, some of these guys who was getting a hold to this bad marijuana or this bad salt, and they were really going crazy, and they were out just mad and trying to kill people, just going mad publicly, trying to kill people. And then you heard, sometimes you would hear, well, they got a hold to a bad batch. Okay. Right. Now, no drugs, none of these drugs. And people say, well, hey, T West, it's natural. It's natural. Yeah, there's a lots of natural things that are not good for you. I mean, there are some super poisonous fish out there in the water, swimming in the waters out there, that if you touched it, or if you got a little dab on your skin or in your mouth, it'll kill you just like that. But it's natural. All right, it's natural. So common sense should be the rule of the day. We have a sober mind. Our minds should be sober. Now, there are others out there who says, but yeah, T West, I got cancer. Well, you're an exception, possibly. If they don't have anything else, right, you're an exception. But most of these folks out here, they don't have any cancer. They puffing and carrying on for other reasons. Okay, now, overall, it's not good. It's not wise. And now you see, under this administration, you see what Jeff Sessions is about to do. Jeff Sessions is about to enforce federal laws against the states who, through public referendums and all, they've voted that they want to make marijuana legal. What will they make legal tomorrow? Will they make heroin legal tomorrow for everyone to shoot up? Will they make cocaine legal? What will they make legal next? So, and then you can also, this country's been through this before. You had the prohibitionary era where the battles were being fought over alcohol. Now, we all know that alcohol plays a huge role in the breakup of families, in deaths. We know it plays a huge role in that. Far more than any, if you want to talk about other drugs and all, alcohol is responsible for far more deaths and negative things than anything else. But there's a lot of money in it. If there's money in it, you can expect a lot of people to jump in and get involved with it. You can expect a lot of us, Black folks, to jump in and get involved in it and with it, because there's money to be made. And the government says that it's legal. Well, hell, slavery was legal at one time too. Why would I want to go out there and own someone like they're an animal, like they're a cow, and they're humans, but I'm treating them like they're an animal and I'm owning them? Why would I want to do that? Common sense should tell me that I don't want to be owned like that. So in my mind, I had to reduce that person to something less than a person in order for me to feel innocent about it, in order for me to allay or set aside my guilt. Common sense. So this whole marijuana thing is a trap, okay? If the federal government starts knocking down doors and start arresting y'all, they already do it anyway in certain states because it's not legal in various states anyway. Now, of course, some people are trying to make it legal in various states, just like they're trying to make concealed carry for guns legal. If you have a permit to carry a concealed weapon in one state, they're trying to make it legal to do that in all 50 states. Now they're trying to do the same thing with marijuana, just like they're trying to do the same thing with gay or homosexual marriages. So, so you see all of these things happening, and that's part of what Obama was talking about when he was talking about. Michelle said, "Hey, well, look, you should change the culture. That's very important. Change the culture." Okay, so these are cultural wars, cultural battles, and much of it is experimental. A lot of people don't know where it's going to end up at. They don't know how it's going to turn out, but they're running this experiment on the masses right here in America. So, in mind, I'm like, nah, marijuana, even if it's legal, nah, it's wise not to fool with it. Okay, it might be in one state, you go into another state, they'll throw your ass into the slammer. You get into trouble that you did not need, especially as a black man or a black woman. You don't need any more trouble. You were born into trouble in this country. And oftentimes, this world, you were born into trouble. So, those are my comments on that. I'll stop there.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, Mr. West, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody in the chat room, thank you for participating and watching tonight and joining us. Thank you so much. It means a lot. T. West, we're going to go ahead and close out. I'll let you go ahead and have the final say.
Well, since this program was primarily about California and the situation that California is in, with the distinction of it being the most impoverished state when you look at the supplemental poverty measurements, that situation does not and did not have to be with California. There are lots of great people in California, lots of them. But because this government, under Democrats and under Republicans even, has not paid attention to what's coming across the border into its country, California, there is a battle happening in California, and California would be the example for the rest of the country. It is the pilot program, and it is to say that America will be conquered. Now, conquered by who? Well, conquered by Spanish-speaking people, primarily. Spain conquered Mexico, many Central American countries, South American countries. Spain conquered a wide area, even right here in what is now the United States. Spain conquered. And the people, they speak the language of the conquerors. They speak Spanish. They're not speaking their native tongue. They speak Spanish. Unlike many of the Native Americans here in this country, a few of them speak their various native languages. And just like the other European groups, the English, the French, they also conquered over here. and they set up and partitioned off the part of North, Central, and South America that they wanted. And now you see those who came out of Spain and through miscegenation mixed in with the native peoples in Mexico. They are now conquering, reconquering the United States. And California is being used as the pilot program, as I said. Not only California, but you can look at that southwestern region of the United States, you know, Texas, Arizona, California, even going all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, state of Washington, all of that. And even in the South, by the way, as I've said, and I know I'm closing up, but
go ahead. No, take your time. Take your time, please.
Yes, I'll say this. Even in the South, over a 10-year period, you saw a 105% Hispanic growth rate over a 10-year period in the southern states of the United States. In that same period, the Black population growth was less than 5%. So when you look at the U.S. Congress, look at what religious faith some of these congressmen and congresswomen are of. Well, I'm sure, I haven't even looked at it, but I'm sure what you will find that most of those who strongly support illegal immigration in these sanctuary cities, you will find that they will be, in most cases, Roman Catholic. And then you have to ask the question, why Roman Catholic? Well, when you say Latino, Latino comes, that's a term that comes from Latin. That's Rome. Over 90% of the Hispanics were
Hispanics are predominantly Catholic.
Over 90%. So they are increasing their numbers here in the United States. So they have those in Congress who work on their behalf to do that. They're doing that. And it's time for Black people to wake up. To wake up. If you're going to move up, you better wake up. And you cannot move up unless you wake up. So it's a wake-up call, you know. People say I'm woke, but are you really woke? So, Brother Mir, once again, thank you very much for your invitation to your program, your show, and I hope your listeners got something out of this.
No, everybody in the chat room enjoyed it. They said it's a great show. Thank you so much for coming on. I actually found the list of religious affiliation of members of Congress and their religious affiliation. And let's see here. Paul Cook, Roman Catholic.
Big Durban.
I'm gonna post this link in the chat room.
Good.
Let's see here. And you're right. In California, the majority of Congress, they're Roman Catholics.
Yeah. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. People need to understand that before there ever was.
Hey, Nancy Pelosi, Roman Catholic.
Yes. Yes. Before there ever was a king, before there ever was a president, before there ever was a prime minister, who ruled over the people? Who?
The Catholic Church.
It was the priest. The priest ruled over the church. Even before the Catholic Church, there were priests. But the priest, the rabbi, the preacher, however you want to call it, the minister, it was the religion. The religious, they ruled over the people. And I can assure you that the Roman Church is playing a huge role in this influx of all these illegal immigrants into this country, and the whole terms, sanctuary city, sanctuary state, sort of religious terms. They're behind it. And those Roman Catholics in Congress. Now, the Catholic Church has its ecumenical group also, where they pull in the Protestants and even the Muslims into their group so that they can bring them onto the same page that they're on also. That's what this whole ecumenical business is all about. So, but anyway, I think I'll stop right
brother, please also shout out your contact information in your page as well, your YouTube page.
Well,
Contact information.
You know, as you know, my name is T West, and my channel on YouTube is AfriSynergy News, and then also on Facebook, AfriSynergy News on Facebook. So you can reach me in those areas on YouTube and also on Facebook.
All right, perfect. Everybody says great show. So, brother, thank you so much for coming on. Again, if you're new to the show, to the stream, please subscribe, please share. Make sure you go to searchforwho.com. Make sure you go to DynastAmir.com. Make sure you go to Amazon.com. Please search the name Dynasty Amir. Please buy a book. Make sure you go to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Search for Uhuru. Please like, subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff. Dynasty Amir, search for Uhuru. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the chat we had today. I'll be back on probably tomorrow. Make sure you guys please follow Brother T West as well. Like and share and subscribe to his channels and his platforms as well. Dynasty Amir, till next time. Peace.